Welcome to your reset with Christiane Piano, where the purpose is to support you in releasing all that you are not, so the truth of who you really are can emerge. This is accomplished through working with the body-mind from an ontological perspective. We use various modalities to support you in supporting yourself exactly where you are, so that you may return to an experience of wholeness and ease, moment by moment. Deep reflection is one of the greatest tools through which to do this. To take a moment, to pause, assess, reflect, and literally and figuratively reset, come back to center, and move back into your one and precious life with increased clarity and purpose. Hello, I'm Christiane Piano, and welcome to this week's episode. Today we're diving into a fundamental distinction that underpins all the work I do. The profound difference between approaching your well-being with a fix-it mentality versus a curiosity-driven relational one. I've chosen to speak about this now because after years of working with people, I've seen that embracing this relational shift is one of the fundamental keys clients find to finally move beyond temporary relief and engage in deep, sustainable working in. If you've ever felt stuck in a loop, trying modality after modality, only to find yourself spinning, be it physical issues like recurring low back pain, emotional issues like chronic anxiety despite constant self-help, or relational issues where the same dynamic keeps repeating, then this reflection is for you. I invite you to pause and ask yourself, where in my own life do I see a specific pattern of temporary fixes and returning struggle currently playing out? The answer to that question often involves the very practices and tools we desperately use to try and fix those returning struggles, which brings us to the word modality. When I use the word modality, exactly what do I mean? A modality is a specific method, approach, or technique that allows us to engage in working in. Working in, for those unfamiliar with the term, is about turning your attention inward to honor your internal world and cultivate an intimate relationship with your body. This practice supports a purposeful shift from the outside world to our inner world, where we can explore what is truly unfolding in our experience. The awareness that comes from this shift then gives us a plethora of choices about what we'd like to work with to support a return to a state of balance, or if we already find ourselves in a state of balance, to reinforce it. Crucially, working in is not about achieving one long, perfect moment of stillness and calm. It is about remembering that we are human beings, not machines, and we're not aiming for perfection or some state of attainment. It's about learning to ride the wave of the plethora of experiences without getting lost in them or being taken out by them. We will inevitably move to extremes, and that's okay. And we can consciously return to center. As if we don't, the energy required to stay in those extremes will ultimately leave us worn out and depleted. The goal is cultivating resilience and the capacity for internal regulation by focusing on bite-sized nuggets of inner awareness spliced throughout your day. This small, consistent action supports the process of titration, a gradual, gentle approach to engaging with any discomfort you are navigating and slowly releasing the energy of it. By frequently checking in and resetting when needed, we cultivate the habit of inner support. These practices are designed to help us enrich, expand, and enhance our experience of physical, emotional, and mental wholeness by cultivating body-mindful awareness. To give you an example of the practices one can lean into would be walking, body scan meditations, somatics, interactive dialogue, body-mind sessions, or various breathing practices. At its heart, working in is about cultivating an intimate relationship with your body. It is a fundamental shift in focus from seeing your body as something to be managed or fixed to something to be listened to. Instead of relying solely on the mind's thoughts and external cues, working in invites you to turn your attention inward to your internal world as a source of wisdom and information. This approach is founded on the understanding that our bodies hold memories, emotions, and patterns of experience. By intentionally connecting with your body's sensations, this process supports the gradual uncovering and eventual understanding of the root cause of recurring patterns and cycles of experience. However, because it is profoundly challenging to see our own deepest patterns clearly without a mirror, guidance and external support act as that necessary mirror, making them invaluable components of this journey. While the outside world may relentlessly send messages demanding perfection and external fixing, that entire approach treats your body as an object to be manipulated. The essential work is fundamentally about developing a relationship of deep listening with your body, which is a living, breathing expression of your life. I invite you to pause for a moment and consider your immediate default reaction to physical or emotional discomfort. Notice the mental and emotional pattern that immediately arises. Do you immediately feel annoyed or impatient, demanding that your body quiet down or simply function as expected? Now, if that doesn't quite fit your experience, I invite you to simply reflect on this. What happens in your inner world when your body sends you uncomfortable signals? This common pattern of demanding immediate relief is completely understandable. Yet, when we respond with the urgency to fix or quiet the signal, we are choosing to command our body rather than connect with it. This impulse, the desire for the discomfort to just go away, is the opposite of the curiosity and the deep practice of simply being with what is. But this is precisely where the shift lies. We need to learn to attend and befriend our bodies. Our body is our home while we are alive, and it holds a deep reservoir of wisdom. We must be willing to listen to it, not just command it. This is the very essence of the relational shift, moving out of fixing mode and into the mindset of the Olympian Feeler. The term Olympian here doesn't refer to athletic perfection. It simply describes the mastery of feeling and the dedication to supporting yourself in feeling without being taken out or overwhelmed by the experience. Fixing mode sees the body as a problem to be solved. The Olympian Feeler sees the body as a source of wisdom to be heard. This fundamental difference is the practical expression of choosing to relate to your body with curiosity rather than command it with a solution. Whether you are new to this path or have been practicing for years, the ongoing work involves navigating the deep-seated patterns that are literally embodied, influencing every area of our lives. This episode will explore exactly why inviting this relational shift and leaning into support is so fundamental to body-mind well-being. Resistance is par for the course. It's the point where most people default back to fixing mode and stop their inner work. But this moment, which is completely understandable given the external pressure for perfection and fixing, is precisely where the relational shift must begin. We don't need to try and overcome the resistance. We need to redefine our relationship to it. The pressure of our modern environment has falsely taught us that discomfort must be bypassed or ignored just to keep moving forward. And when this is our universal conditioning, this deep-seated belief that we should not or cannot feel into our experience, it results in a profound and widespread disconnection from our bodies. This fundamental lack of willingness and capacity to listen to one's body is the core relational foundation this entire work aims to shift. By choosing to stay present and approaching this universal tendency with curiosity rather than judgment, we establish this core relational foundation. The most persistent theme we observe regarding modalities is the urge to get rid of something, whether it's an uncomfortable emotion, a persistent habit, a body sensation, or even a limiting thought. The impulse is to label it a problem and fix it, and that's completely understandable. When we feel discomfort, we naturally seek relief. But here is the central distinction I want to offer to you today. When we approach ourselves or any modality with urgency, panic, or the need to control or crush an unpleasant state, the very system we are trying to soothe interprets that energy as more evidence of danger. When you focus on the thing you most want to fix or get rid of, what is the felt tone or inner stance you bring to it? Does that inner tone feel like curiosity and openness? Or does it feel like pressure, panic, or control? It may be helpful to be reminded of a core principle here. The body doesn't respond to what you do. It responds to where you are doing it from. Your nervous system listens to your inner tone, your pace, and your felt intention. When the intention is, I must escape this feeling now, the body registers fear, not safety, and that creates resistance, keeping us locked in the pattern we are trying to escape. When we want to begin to shift recurring patterns, loops, or themes in our lives, to allow our life to be about something other than surviving our problems, changing the relational tone we bring to our inner world becomes a vital piece of that work, no matter which modality we engage in. This is where embodied work is key. By choosing to feel into and be present with the unfolding experience within you and supporting yourself through the process, you change the relational tone. When the tone shifts from fixing to allowing, the body registers safety, and the resistance naturally begins to diffuse over time. It's important to remember that this work is a process. Creating a new supportive tone unfolds through consistent engagement and time. However, viewing this as a worthwhile investment in your body-mind well-being and capacity for a life of ease makes it a truly transformative path toward allowing your life to be driven by presence rather than by the need to manage struggle. We must understand the body's role as the anchor of presence and reality. Coming from mind, whose role is to keep us safe through avoidance, pulls us into the past or future, never the present. It is only in the present moment, grounded in and coming from the body, that we can genuinely be with the unfolding experience, find agency, and feel. The body we are speaking of is the soma. This is an ancient Greek word referring to the living, self-sensing body, the body as experienced from the inside out, the first-person perspective of you. Our invitation is to cultivate the skill of listening to the soma. This is a critical move given the reality of sensory motor amnesia, known as SMA. But what is this exactly? Simply put, SMA is the literal physical foundation of the profound disconnection we've been discussing. Understanding SMA is one of the pieces that helps us to understand why the relational tone is part of the path to regaining our agency, because it speaks to the loss of conscious control over our own structure. During the course of our lives, our nervous system continually responds to daily stresses, shocks, and traumas with specific protective muscular reflexes. These reflexes, repeatedly triggered, create habitual, involuntary muscular tension. Over time, this repeated tension creates a state of sensory motor amnesia. We literally lose the felt memory of how certain muscle groups feel and how to consciously control them. This isn't necessarily about age. SMA can occur any time from childhood onward, often presenting as chronic stiffness, soreness, or limited movement that we simply dismiss as part of getting older. This is the pervasive condition for most of us. This profound disconnection is the body-mind separation in action. Because the body is the anchor of our reality, when we lose the felt experience of our own structure, we lose access to the present moment and our agency. This is the critical juncture where the Olympian Feeler is needed. The work is not to force a fix, but to initiate a new relational stance, to reclaim the felt experience, and in doing so, begin to remember our inherent wholeness. The challenge in dealing with anything that creates discomfort and causes a trigger from past experience is a paradox. There is so much to feel, yet so little capacity to feel it safely. We learn this emotional capacity in childhood through attuned adults who can soothe, mirror, and guide us through big feelings. This process is called co-regulation, a person providing support, calm, and responsive interactions to help another manage their emotions until they can do so independently. Without this foundation, the nervous system does not learn that emotions can be felt safely without overwhelm. When we grow up in an environment that fractures our nervous system through neglect, chaos, or unmet needs, our body learns to survive by repressing what feels unbearable. These emotions don't disappear. They live in the body as unprocessed energy. Over time, this creates the paradox we often experience. Inside, there is too much that needs to be felt, but our nervous system has too little capacity to feel it sustainably. This is why we may feel numb or find that when emotions come, they flood us and just feel like too much. If you reflect and pause on these types of thoughts, you will notice that this emotional knottedness has a direct correlate in the body. It is the same stuckness. It just shows up in a different way. From a somatic perspective, this isn't a sign of being broken. It's our nervous system attempting to protect us. But here's the good news. Maturation is the opportunity to create the missing environment for yourself today and now. You can develop this type of co-regulating environment, starting with the relationship you have with your own soma. This is why it is essential to work in bite-sized nuggets and prioritize slow release. Growth, unlearning, and healing are not about feeling everything at once. It's about slowly expanding your window of tolerance, building the capacity to feel, little by little. This includes learning to ground in your body's presence, tracking sensations instead of stories, learning to pendulate between difficult and resourcing states. As this happens, your nervous system learns that feeling doesn't have to equal drowning. Emotions that once seemed unbearable can be felt, processed, and integrated. Working in is all about cultivating a return to a felt sense of wholeness, and this takes time. Which brings us to a profound truth that underpins all this capacity building. Function maintains structure. The body-mind practices we spoke of earlier, like body-mind sessions, walking, somatics, body scan meditations, are the modalities which support function and structure, as well as proving support for the necessary slow release of this emotional stuckness and accumulated stuff. Without this consistent functioning, listening, and allowing, we risk atrophy and the nervous system defaults to survival. If our muscles are not regularly used in skilled activities, they become weaker. If our brain cells aren't systematically involved in a wide variety of voluntary activities, they deteriorate. You might have heard the treacherous advice, now that you're getting older, you want to slow down a bit. But in my experience, this pathway can lead directly to decrepitude. Maturation is a long process of learning, building a repertoire of function and pacing that matches what's needed in the moment and allows us to live life fully. The goal then is not to fix a broken part, but to unlearn what has been learned and remember what has been forgotten. This is where we move beyond simply being a critical thinker and develop the skill of becoming an Olympian feeler, an expert feeler who is willing to fully engage with what is going on within. The body, your soma, is your direct connection to reality. Our sensory system relates to far more than just muscle or joint sensation. It's a combination of systems conveying signals to the brain about the complete state of the body. Here's the key distinction. Avoiding the body equals avoiding reality. When your patterns, your knots in the body-mind, begin to soften, loosen, or release, your entire perception of reality shifts. This leads to moments of access to stillness and silence, which in turn has a powerful impact on the mind. Grounding in reality by expanding your capacity to be with all as is supports you in seeing the mind for what it is. This drastically decreases the possibility of getting lost in the swirling, endless loops of mental chatter. This is the work of the Olympian Feeler, developing the capacity for deep discernment, distinguishing between what is happening right now and what is an old story being reactivated in the soma. I invite you to pause and check in. When you consider your current approach to discomfort, does it feel driven by the urge to fix or an invitation to feel? What energy is dominant? This work is an invitation of curiosity to travel inward with the understanding that becoming an Olympian feeler is a learned ability and it often requires support. As you work with your soma, you will have releases, shifts, and moments of intense feeling. To have a context established to hold these experiences is fundamental. As without a context, without the understanding that this is the body releasing old patterns, not a system breaking down, it will trigger an alarm. And then we are right back to the default of fixing or fleeing the discomfort. Before reaching for any technique or taking any step, practice the pause. Soften your inner posture. Physically and mentally, release the bracing tension. Notice the energy. Bring your attention to the energy you are already bringing toward your experience. Ask the question, what is unfolding in my experience right now? Am I trying to get rid of this? Or am I willing to be with this? Let the practice be an offering, not a command. Your system doesn't need perfection or pressure. It needs presence. When we stop fighting our discomfort and start enriching our experience by listening, we give the nervous system something it hasn't experienced before, safety without conditions. And this is the ground from which full life living begins. It begins with a choice, inviting a shift in the relational tone you bring to your inner world. It's not about forcing an outcome or fixing a symptom, but about initiating a new relationship with your internal experience. This shift is a powerful and direct pathway to move from a life of managing struggle to a life driven by presence and ease. The questions we're left with are simple, yet the simple act of exploring them profoundly influences the quality of your experience. Do you feel ready to honor your own body-mind by simply choosing allowance over judgment and curiosity over the constant panic of fixing mode? Can you begin to recognize that the chronic stiffness, soreness, or recurring emotional patterns you experience are not random, but the physical manifestation of sensory motor disconnection, a subtle loss of your own agency? If you feel ready to engage with these questions, the good news is that the path is simply one of remembering. You are not broken, but a part of yourself has been forgotten due to years of stress and protective reflexes. The Olympian Feeler is the part of you that knows how to listen, how to allow, and how to unlearn the patterns that keep you small. The work is a process, and every moment spent choosing the relational tone of presence is a step toward reclaiming your inherent wholeness. You already have the capacity to begin. Thank you so much for listening in and joining me in this week's reflection. I invite you to consider this question as you move through the rest of your week and your life. Where would you like to begin your inquiry today? What small, consistent action will you take toward building your capacity to become an Olympian feeler, an unending process with multiple layers? I genuinely look forward to hearing what resonated with you from this conversation. Please feel free to reach out and share your insights. Remember that the greatest act of self-love is simply choosing to listen to the wisdom already within you. Until next time, be well. If you are interested in working with me on any level of body-mind well-being, whether it be through individual body-mind maturation work sessions, perhaps participating in a series, individual privates, or through my video-on-demand services, if you have questions, if you would like to engage on any level, feel free to schedule a free 15-minute consult in the appointments section, www.christianepiano.com, or email me directly at growth@christianepiano.com.